Hello and welcome to another art house movie review. This time I'm reviewing the film Gholam, directed by Mitra Tabrizian. So I went to an art exhibition at the Whitechapel Gallery in London, and one of the exhibits in the exhibition was a series of photographs called Film Stills by Mitra Tabrizian, the director of this film, and I hadn't heard of her. And the photographs were stills from the film, and they were, when I saw them, I didn't realise they were stills from the film. I just thought they were really interesting shots of somewhere in London, and they just were amazing. They really caught my eye. So when I found out they were actually from her film, I was really keen to see this film. Now, Mitra's primarily worked as a photographer, and one of her previous projects, Border, in 2005-2006, she found a person who inspired the character Gholam. So actually there is a close link between her photography and film work. Her photography generally, her website is well worth checking out because she's got a lot of her work on there. Her photography generally is quite stylized and theatrical and made me think a little bit of Cindy Sherman's photographs. But it's quite different in the sense of, rather than Hollywood stars with Cindy Sherman, Mitra is photographing migrants in London. And Gholam in this film is a migrant living in London with a military past. And the film is the life of an immigrant in London, really, and this sense of displacement and loss and not quite being engaged in life in the UK. It was really interesting how we kept seeing, he was a taxi driver, and we kept seeing how when he's in the taxi, we view it from the passenger's point of view. And we only see his face in the mirror. It's like he sees life through a lens. He's not fully engaged with the people. He has his back to the people who get into his taxi, who don't treat him very well. But he's seeing them through this reflection. And I thought this was really clever, this kind of recurring motif. And I think all of her work, including this film, is about kind of cultural and political detachment, a dislocation of being both in a city and excluded from it. I really like her imagery. The compositions are fantastic and most of them have people in. They're very like the images in her photo collection Borders. There's a shot where two men are sitting outside a shop and it's just, you could look at it for ages. It's just fantastic. It's really interesting in this film how there is violence, but it's really understated. This whole film is understated. There's no theatrics or melodrama. And although there is one moment in the film, we're seduced into a very gentle story. Even when there's a big fight, the things happen off the screen at the edge of the picture, at the border of the picture. And there's the noise of a train going past, so we can't hear anything. It's like we know it's happening, but we can't see it. There is one point, and I don't want to give too much of a spoiler here, but there's one point where there is a punch in the gut. And I really like this. It was visceral in a very literal sense. That's all I'm going to say about it, but this film is well worth watching. If I was going to criticise anything, I found the thugs a little bit unconvincing and kind of a bit too stereotyped. My feeling is that this wasn't a deliberate decision because it's totally out of keeping with the rest of the film. I do just think that was a little bit misjudged. Despite being really austere and understated, there is some humour in this film, and the "Be Our Guest" joke made me laugh out loud. In conclusion, this is a really interesting film. It's engaging, it's thought-provoking, it packs a punch even though most of the time it's understated. Mitra is a real artist. Her photography is fantastic and she's a storyteller, which is in her photography and also makes her a really interesting filmmaker. I highly recommend this film. Thanks for watching. See you next time.